Hey, Olive, Arlo, and Frank, Grandpop coming to you in the Vatican underneath the Dames Point Bridge. Just been following little signs and my instincts. And I came upon this memorial to a ship called the El Faro that sank in October of 2015. It's 3 miles under the ocean, so nobody's ever going to go scuba diving and go down and do it as a wreck dive. Most of the wrecks, quote unquote, that I've gone diving in were actually sunk by people to just build up reefs, make artificial reefs and habitat for fish and stuff like that. This was Rio 133 crew members died. It was a ship that was built in 1975, and it went back and forth from Jacksonville to Puerto Rico, taking all kinds of supplies. And then Hurricane Joaquin on October 1st of 2015 was coming up the coast, and for some reason the captain, who was very competent at his job, decided to sail into the eye of the hurricane. And they have a beautiful memorial back there. There's a lighthouse that it tells what happened. It lists the crew members, and then also they have 33 of, I don't know what they're called. I'm getting ready to do a vocabulary on nautical terms. It's not a nautical term that I know, but there's posts that ships tie up to. When you're on a cruise ship, they're giant. Whatever that post is called, maybe it's called a post. They have 33 of them, and one for each crew member. And then there's people, I mean, this just happened 8 years ago. So there's family members that come here and they leave flowers and they write messages and stuff. It's something. There's a lot of things that used to happen a lot, and you think in modern times, like if your husband, your dad goes to sea, or your mom or your wife, they go to sea, that you're going to miss them, but you're going to see them again. But even in modern times, aircraft crash from time to time and boats sink. It's not a perfect world. So hug those that you love every day, because you never know when you're not going to see them again. Today we're going to do The Hare and the Tortoise. This is a famous story. This one is by Carol Jones. I don't know if she thinks she wrote the story, or maybe that's the person that wrote the original story. I always thought it was the tortoise and the hare, but we'll see. The air was clear and crisp as a new day dawned in the forest. Down a winding trail jogged Hare on his regular early morning training run. Out from a hole in the ground popped a sleepy head of Mole. He had been awakened by the thumping on his bedroom ceiling. "Inconsiderate fellow," Mole grumbled as Hare disappeared around a bend in the track. "He wakes me every morning on his training run." Hare, with his chest puffed out as he jogged, called out loudly to no one in particular, "I'm the fastest runner in the forest. No one can beat me." And here he is. So he's not just obnoxious, he's an obnoxious jogger. And here, there's actually a hole in the page here, so we're going to see part of what's on the next page. That same morning, Tortoise was enjoying a bowl of lettuce and dandelion soup for breakfast while catching up on the news in the Forest Daily. As usual, Hare was featured in the sports section. He had won yet another important race and the report suggested that Hare may become the forest's first Olympic champion. Tortoise frowned. Hare really is becoming a little too confident for his own good. And here's the picture from the first page of Hare, and then we'll see that picture that we saw through the first page to the second, that was Tortoise eating dandelion soup and lettuce for breakfast. Farther down the track, Hare stopped near a sturdy oak tree. Mrs. Squirrel was farewelling her children as they left for school. Hare loved an audience. He reached up for an overhanging branch and began doing chin-ups. Badger came out from his front door to collect his milk and paper. He frowned and gave Hare a disapproving look. 17, 18, 19, 20, panted Hare, and that's a lot of push-ups. What a conceited show-off, murmured Badger to Mrs. Squirrel. And here's Hare doing his pull-ups. And then here's the peephole into the next page, and we'll see what that is. Meanwhile, Tortoise had finished his breakfast and reading the paper. He looked out the window and saw that it was a fine, sunny morning. Just a perfect day for a spot of fishing, he thought. I'll try and catch some fish for lunch. So he's not ashamed of eating other members of the animal family. Tortoise packed his fishing basket, slung it over his back, and ambled off towards the stream. A friendly willy wagtail offered Tortoise a worm for bait, and a snail decided to tag along for the ride. That snail better watch out. He's going to be the bait. As soon as Mr. Worm is gone, Mr. Snail's going to be like, hey, what am I doing on this hook? Ouch, that hurts. Tortoise had just settled down happily by the stream with his fishing rod when Hare came racing by. Hare stopped, did some stretching exercises, and eyed Tortoise with disdain. So here's the picture from the other page of Hare, and then here's the picture from this page. Let's see if we can get it all in there. Yeah. So that's Hare doing his stretching exercises, and Tortoise is sitting there, Mr. Turtle, drinking a pina colada, probably even before noon. He's like, hey, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. So what do you think that the hare thinks about the tortoise? What does the rabbit think about the turtle? The rabbit's fast, turtles are slow. Is a turtle slow because he doesn't want to be fast? I don't think so. You lazy tortoise, sitting down all day, said Hare scornfully. You'll never stay fit and healthy fishing. So he thinks that the turtle is lazy, and that's why he's slow. But turtles are slow because they're turtles. You'd have to put a rocket on the back of a turtle to make it as fast as a rabbit. It beats running around in circles. What's that good for? Replied Tortoise, casting his line out into the river. Everyone knows that I'm the fastest hare in the forest and that I win every race I'm in, boasted Hare. It's not always the fastest who wins, muttered Tortoise, especially when he is so silly and boastful. And I forget where that quote is from, but it's not to the fastest goes the race or something like that. Silly am I, retorted Hare, frowning indignantly, and boastful. I'll show you a thing or two. So it's like the Three Stooges, like, yeah, you wise guy. I'll show you a thing or two, wise guy. Let's settle this with a race. Excellent, agreed Tortoise. A race of about 10 miles would suit me fine, he said, smiling confidently to himself. So now they're in each other's face. They're up in each other's grill. The turtle and the rabbit. The tortoise and the hare. They're talking smack. And here's a picture of the rabbit from the next page, through the peephole. Hare couldn't believe his ears, and he's got some big ears. He threw back his head and laughed. He laughed until the tears ran down his furry face. You're the foolish one, he chortled. You know I'm the champion of the forest and that no one can beat me. We'll see, replied Tortoise. I'll race you next Saturday at noon. You're on, sniggered Hare. 10 miles next Saturday. See you then. Hare raced off quickly, eager to begin some more training. So Hare's going to train some more. Now, he's been training this entire book so far, and this is looking back to them up in each other's grill. And then here's this page. Oh, grandmother would love this. There's owls up there in the tree. See them? And they're parting their way. They're getting ready to go and do what they're going to do to get ready for Saturday. It was the day of the race. Everyone in the forest was excited about the challenge and wanted to be part of it. Badger had appointed himself as the race referee and had nailed up the race rules. A group of young rabbits under Mr. Fox's supervision were sent out to mark the course with red flags. Mole popped up his head to see what all the activity was about. When he learned of the race, Mole became an immediate supporter of Tortoise. That young upstart of a hare needs to be taken down a peg or two. But Hare was not without his own support. A group of hares from his running club had turned up, ready to have a good laugh at Tortoise's expense. And quite honestly, the thing that makes this story is that if you could really get these animals to race each other, and you couldn't, there's no way a turtle is going to beat a rabbit in a foot race. And there's the look back, or the look forward at Hare. Hare arrived early for the race, sporting a brand new pair of air-cushioned running shoes. So this is like a modern version of the story. I don't think they wore Nikes in the original version that I heard when I was a little kid. But that's fine. These are all good. They're good for what ails you. Immediately on arrival, he began doing an elaborate series of stretching and warm-up exercises. Finally, with only 2 minutes to the starting time, Tortoise ambled up to the starting line. So he ambled. He's walking like a turtle. I was just about to claim a forfeit, said Hare, and then I could have a decent race with my friend. So he's saying, it's going to be so easy to beat you that I wish you hadn't showed up, because I could have had a real race with my rabbit friends instead of dealing with a silly turtle like you. Tortoise ignored Hare's taunts. A very serious badger gave the pair the race instructions. We'll have no jostling to start and no cutting off, he said. So jostling is pushing into each other, and you can't push a turtle. And the turtle is not fast enough to get over there to push the rabbit. So, and no cutting. Cutting means like cutting in front of somebody so that they have to stop or run into you. And so you can stop them. And then they have to start up again and they have to catch back up to you. Now take your marks. Before he crouched down, Hare sneered at Tortoise. I'll wait for you at the finishing line, but only for 1 hour. So he's saying, I can run 10 miles and wait an hour, and you're probably not even going to be there. So he's talking big league smack. Tortoise didn't reply, but just smiled to himself. Badger dropped a red handkerchief to start the race, and amid some excited cheering from the spectators, they were off. So here's Badger when he was putting up the sign against the tree, nailing stuff into a tree. Not cool, but hey. And then here they are. This is the start of the race. Hare raced away from the start like an express train. He was soon around the first bend in the race and setting a cracking pace which caused some rabbits who were sauntering across the track to jump out of the speedster's way. So the whole rabbit community is kind of out of control here. They're all like smacksters. Poor old Tortoise doesn't have a chance, said one of the young rabbits. In no time at all, Hare passed the fence where Al, one of the course officials, was sitting. Give my regards to Tortoise when you see him in an hour or two, Hare sniggered as he raced off toward the halfway mark. And here they go. There, you can see that Hare's like way in front, and there's the owls up there. Hoo, hoo, hoo. The owls. And then here's, I don't know what he's with. He's like hanging out with an opossum or something. At the same time, Tortoise had just managed to drag his back feet across the starting line. Hedgehog, so that's who it is. Hedgehog. Which is probably a lot like an opossum. Hedgehog, feeling sorry for his friend, decided he would accompany Tortoise to give him some support. A stern Badger called out to Hedgehog, if you assist Tortoise in any way, he will be disqualified. Tortoise smiled to himself. He was happy to plod along at his own pace, knowing he had the support of his friends. And here's the hoot owl up there, the race official, because they're wise. Owls are wise. Supposedly. They always have them looking like college professors. And I didn't show you that, did I? Or did I? So there's Tortoise, like, just getting off the starting gate there with Senor Hedgehog. Hey Arlo, ¿cómo se dice hedgehog en español? It's got to be a cool thing to say hedgehog in Spanish. Hare raced on past the halfway mark. On a long, straight stretch of the course, he looked back, but Tortoise was nowhere in sight. What a stupid race, Hare remarked to a group of spectators lining the course. I should never have agreed to such a ridiculous challenge. It's really beneath my dignity. As he was so far in front, Hare decided to have a rest. He sat down beneath a shady tree and pulled off his new running shoes. He closed his eyes, and the sweet aromas of the forest flowers wafted past his nose and soon lulled him off into a deep, deep sleep. His body was very tired from all the hard training he'd been doing every morning and evening. And so here he is, he's chilling. He's chillaxing. And he overtrained. I just did a video on being an athlete in every part of your life, and you have to rest. Well, he's resting, but he's resting during the race. And so we saw that was Turtle in there, and he's hanging out with the frogs and the ducks and stuff, but we'll get to that in a second. The sun was going down when the determined figure of Tortoise shuffled past. A smile appeared on his face when he glanced at the sleeping Hare. Tortoise's supporters were delighted to see Hare sound asleep. "We hope you sleep all night," they chuckled. Now that he was in the lead, a happy Tortoise plodded on, enjoying the encouragement of his forest friends. A family of frogs jumped into their pond and splashed water all over Tortoise to cool him down. He was feeling very hot under his shell after so many hours of trudging along the racetrack, and it would take a turtle a long, long time to go 10 miles. I'm just saying. "Thank you so much, frogs. I appreciate your help and encouragement," he said politely. And here he's looking through the porthole backwards to the Hare taking a nap. And then here is the turtle with his homies. There he is. You gotta have your homies. Ducks and I don't know what. The one thing looks like a duck-billed platypus without the duck bill, but there's butterflies and frogs and Mr. Hedgehog. Oh, and you can even see the Hare up in the corner. See him up there? Up here? See him there? He's asleep. So they're doing all this stuff right there where he is. I'd be afraid of waking him up. It was nearly evening when Hare awoke with a start. An ant had bitten him on the leg. Hare rubbed his eyes and stared in disbelief. Tortoise was way ahead and near the finishing line. A feeling of panic gripped Hare. He grabbed his shoes and raced off, not even stopping to put them on. Pretty stupid. He ran faster than he'd ever run before. "I must win," he panted. "My reputation depends on it. I'll never live it down if a tortoise beats me." Owl and Mole stared in disbelief as Hare flashed by. Truck just went past on the grass, so I thought he was coming up to tell us to get out of here. I would normally have been sitting outside, but every place that I went to try to set up, people sat. People who work around here come out here to eat lunch. It's actually pretty cool. It's in the middle of nowhere, but it's awesome. So there he is. Now there's all kinds of stuff happening on this page. There's mice going like, "Go, go, go." The mice must be rooting for him. The owl's up there. All kinds of stuff happening. And here, I think this is going to be the finish of the race. We're looking through the porthole with that, so we can see what that looks like. I guess part of this whole thing is that you guess what's going to happen on the next page. Tortoise was given a rousing welcome as he plodded toward the finish line. "Tortoise is going to win," shouted the surprised little rabbit. So we're not talking about the rabbit that's in the race. We're talking about the teenage rabbit, the teenage mutant ninja rabbit that kind of got in the way of the Hare when the race started. "Maybe not," replied his friend. "Look, here comes Hare." Down the track flew Hare, traveling so fast that his legs didn't appear to be touching the ground. Tortoise ambled on. Hare made a desperate lunge at the finishing line, but it was too late. Tortoise had just pulled himself across. "You've beaten me," gasped an infuriated Hare. Tortoise turned slowly towards his rival. "Yes," he said with a smile. "You teased me because I was not as fast as you. But," and here's looking backwards through the peephole at the tortoise running fast. Here's the finish. So let's do that again. "I was not as fast as you, but slow and steady wins the race." Peace out.